Iran's foreign ministry has called on European countries to, quote, stand against the war in Gaza. The statement comes after Iran dismissed calls from France, Germany, and the UK to exercise restraint amid warnings of an imminent Iranian attack on Israel. Iran blames Israel for the killing of Hamas political chief in Tehran last month. The United States' recent deployment of a submarine and fighter jets to Israel is being seen as a warning to Iran to stand down on its threat. Fawaz Gerges is with me now. He's a professor of international relations at the London School of Economics with a focus on the Middle East. Welcome back to DW, Fawaz. Now, is there any reason to believe that Iran will not retaliate or limit its retaliation?
Take is that Iran will most likely retaliate for Israel's alleged assassination of Hamas top political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Iranian officials have repeatedly said that they have the right under international law to respond to the humiliation and the assassination of Hamas political leader on their territories. But my reading is that the Iranian leadership does not really want all-out war with Israel. They are taking their time. They are trying to calibrate their attack in a way that does not really provide the Israeli prime minister with a pretext for escalation, for further escalation. So, to answer your question directly, I think it will most likely be measured and try to avoid civilian casualties in Israel.
Mm-hmm. Iran's new president, Masoud Pezeshkian, is considered more moderate than his predecessor. Is there, or was there, hope for de-escalation with this new government?
Well, I mean, we know that the new president, his agenda is very clear. He wants to focus on the economy. He wants to open up Iranian society. He wants to restore relations with the Western governments. But remember what happened during his inauguration. Abbas Haniyeh, Ismail Haniyeh, who was the guest of honor for the Iranian leadership, was killed during the inauguration. It was really great humiliation seen by the Iranian leadership. So what the Iranian leadership is trying to do is to basically, that's what they say, to try to restore deterrence, try to prevent Israel, convince Israel not to really take further aggression. And for the Iranian president, it was basically a major sabotage before even he formed his own cabinet. But at the end of the day, for your own viewers, the Iranian president does not really make the final decision on foreign policy and strategic matters. It's the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, who is the commander-in-chief. But based on what we know, that the new Iranian president is trying to limit Iran's retaliation, because in his talks, in his phone conversations with the French president and the British Prime Minister, Starmer, he made it very clear that the way to de-escalate is to have a ceasefire to end the bloodletting in Gaza. And might give Iran a way out to climb down from the tree.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is what we have publicly been told, right? That there was a rebuttal of the Western nations' appeal for restraint. What do we know about backdoor diplomacy efforts in this issue?
Well, I think this is a very important question. I think what we know, what we do not know is more important than what we know. We know that the United States and Iran are communicating directly and indirectly. They have been doing so for quite, since the breakout of the war in Gaza. We also know that European governments, whether Germany or France or Britain, are really trying to also de-escalate the crisis. We know Qatar and Turkey and Egypt and Jordan are also playing a role. But at the end of the day, Iranian leaders have made it very clear they cannot afford not to retaliate. And sadly to say, as a student of international relations, that's what states do. The idea of prestige, the idea of deterrence is very important. But at the end of the day, it's been 2 weeks now. And the fact that Iran and Hezbollah Lebanon's Hezbollah have not retaliated so far, it tells me they are trying very hard. Their decision will be designed to retaliate without really provoking a further escalation between Israel and the United States on the one hand, and Iran and its local allies on the other hand.
That was Fawaz Gerges from the London School of Economics. Thank you so much. Great to get your insights.
Thanks.
Now, Iran has called on European countries to take a stand against Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza. Tehran has dismissed calls from France, Germany and the UK to exercise restraint amid growing fears of an imminent Iranian attack on Israel. Iran blames Israel for the killing of Hamas's political chief, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran last month. A US battle group sent to the region is being seen as a warning to Iran. Well, Dr. Kamran Matin lectures on international relations with a focus on Iran at the University of Sussex in the UK. Welcome back to DW. It's been something like 2 weeks since Ismail Haniyeh was killed. Why is Iran taking so long to take this revenge that is proclaimed so loudly that it will take?
I think the Iranian regime is facing a massive conundrum. On the one hand, it feels obliged to retaliate against Israel, given that it's been humiliated, time and again by Israeli army and its, intelligence institutions and so on. And in order to restore its credibility with his own regional allies, as well as to avoid being seen as weak by the people inside Iran, it feels that it has to respond. On the other hand, the Iranian regime, in my view, correctly assesses that any retaliation carries the risk of a joint response by Israel and the United States. And this response might include destruction of Iran's nuclear sites as well as its vital economic infrastructure. So on the one hand, Iran does not want to retaliate in a way that it triggers such a response. On the other hand, any response seems to carry that risk, especially in light of Israel's insistence that it would immediately respond to any attack inside Israel. So I think Iran is trying to figure out how to respond without causing a major war with the US and Israel, and is probably trying to see whether a potential ceasefire agreement can remove that necessity from retaliation and claiming victory by, saying that Iran's stance has contributed to that ceasefire, which helps Hamas.
So you think there is a hope then, there is a possibility then that this expected retaliation will not happen because Iran is trying to push Israel towards this ceasefire and can claim some sort of victory?
It's possible. In fact, Iran's permanent mission to the United Nations on Friday issued a statement saying that Iran's retaliation will be timed and carried out in a way as to not to risk the ceasefire talks scheduled for this Thursday. So it is possible that Iran, for example, ends up attacking certain sites in neighboring countries, in Iraqi Kurdistan, where Iran has previously claimed to have attacked Israeli-related sites, or even in Azerbaijan, which has close relations with Israel, without itself directly attacking Israel. But I think this really depends on the way in which these scheduled ceasefire talks unfold on Thursday. And as things stand, the prospects are not very bright, because Hamas is claiming that Israel should agree to the May version of the proposal, which they had accepted at the time, and Hamas may not even participate in these talks on Thursday. Right. In which case, Israel would have a plausible excuse that the side which kind of prevented ceasefire to succeed is Hamas and not Israel.
Right. And despite all these public proclamations, whether it comes from Iran or from Israel or from Hamas or whomever, despite all the shouting in the media, do you expect that quieter backdoor diplomacy with Iran is already happening?
I think diplomacy is happening, but the diplomacy, as far as we know from statements made on the Western media, is that United States messages are relayed to Iran, and these messages basically, warn Iran of a massive retaliation and the cost of and the consequences of a potential attack on Israel. So this much is for sure happening. And then we had this joint statement by leaders of France, Germany, and Britain asking Iran to stand down, to which you referred in the beginning. Iran rejects it and believes that they have not taken any stance against Israel's bombardment and operation in Gaza. So beyond that, I'm not sure what else has been said to Iran. Iran is obviously also keen on seeing who wins the elections in the US, and a democratic administration is more likely to strike a deal over Iran's nuclear project. So in that sense,
we'll leave it there. We'll have to leave it there. But thank you for guiding us through that so clearly, Dr. Matin. Dr. Kamran Matin from the University of Sussex in the UK.
Thank you.